Welcome back to Life Without Secrets. Today we're diving deep into the world of abundance, personal freedom, and radical transformation with Preston Smiles, an abundance and personal freedom coach, best-selling author, father, and husband. Preston's journey of moving through a heart condition and dyslexia has fueled his passion for helping others break free from their own limitations. In this episode, Preston shares his unique insights on the connection between our nervous system and financial well-being, and how healing unresolved trauma can unlock more joy and personal power. We'll also explore his proven methods for amplifying love, building stronger relationships, and redefining self esteem to create lasting success. If you're ready to transform your relationship with money, heal your past traumas, and step into a life of abundance, this episode is for you. Preston, welcome to Life Without Secrets.
Thank you so much. I am excited to be here. I absolutely love the title of this podcast. It is some of my life's work. It's what I do with people in our workshops. So we're like on the same frequency. Yes.
I love it. I could feel it from the beginning when we jumped on the call, just like right away, flow, frequency. I feel that from you 100%. So thank you for coming on here with us. I'm excited to share about your journey and what you're doing for people all around the world. I think that's super awesome. And I know that your journey hasn't always been easy. We all face our own personal challenges. We have to grow from those. We have to transform. And so I was wondering if you could just start by taking us through those pivotal moments in your life that have kind of shaped who you are today and led you to what the work you do now.
Yeah. In my 44 years of being on this planet, often when I start to share stories, people are like, yo, you've lived like 35 lives.
Right.
Because I've been a lot of things, right? There's,
Mhm.
the chapters of me, and I'll start with a little backstory where um, by the time I was 2, my mom and dad were sort of like arguing about whether I was special needs or not. They
Mm.
believed, and I think it was more my mom believed that there was something off about me. And by the time I was 5, they had started getting me tested. And by the time I was 7 and in elementary school, I was taken from regular classes with all my friends to the classes with the children who had Down syndrome and who were schizophrenic and who had Asperger's. And so one of my biggest core wounds that I'm still working through in this
Mhm.
adult body is the wound of belonging, the wound
Mhm.
of feeling like I'm a burden to my family and to society because I don't fit into these standardized boxes of how other people think, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the backdrop from which I'll share some of this story. By the time I was 18, I had a skin condition come up, and I went to all these dermatologists and nobody could figure it out. And they
Mhm.
came up with this term called photodermatitis, which basically means you're allergic to the sun. And they gave me these steroids, and they said for the rest of your life, every time the sun hits you and you break out in hives, you put the steroids on.
Mhm.
Well, as we know, especially now, this was a long time ago, the body is a living library that stores everything we've ever been through. And if we don't give the body the signal that it's safe, if we don't move through the unprocessed trauma and shame and guilt that's in the body will start to break. So that's
Yep.
18. Fast forward to 25 years old. I'm now in LA. I'm working at Abercrombie and Fitch with my shirt off. I've got my muscles. I'm all greased up in the front of Abercrombie. And I'm talking to the other model person that's there. And I keep saying, she's like, why do you keep grabbing your heart? And I'm like, oh, it just feels weird. And she's like, well, why don't you go to the doctor? And I'm like, I don't do the doctor thing. Well, a
Mm.
few weeks of that, of my heart going really, really fast and then really, really slow, she was like, I think you should go. And so I called my like doctor from like 10 years old, and she said, come on in. And when I got there, she ran a couple tests and she said, you need to see a cardiologist immediately today.
Mm.
Like you could die. So then that instantly is like, wait, I was just coming for a routine thing. And now you got me rushing to another part of a hospital. So I go see the cardiologist. I go through all these tests. And the long and short of it was my body started to break because I was not processing the deep levels of trauma and shame that had been
Mm.
living in it, right? The body remembers what the
Mhm.
mind forgets. And so
Mhm.
when I started to look back at my life, and there was a cardiologist that basically saved my life because he asked me 2 questions that changed me forever. Question number 1 was, "What is your diet like?" And I was like, I eat food." He was like, "Tell me about food." I was like, "Oh, McDonald's, Burger King,
Oh,
it's like french fries every day, fried chicken, like,
and
food."
you still looked that good.
I did, right? You can only go so far that way. I actually look younger now than
Right?
I did back then. Um,
That's amazing.
so then he said, "What are your stress levels like?" And remember, I'm 25, and this
Mhm.
is not there's no such thing as an influencer, there's no Instagram, none of this stuff exists back then. It's not commonplace.
Yeah.
So I say, "What is a stress level? What do you mean?" And he's like, "Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about your life." And I started to explain that my dad has been on drugs since I was 13, and that
Mhm.
we lost everything, and divorce, and a little bit of sexual abuse stuff from a family friend as at like 9, and then
Mhm.
I'm explaining that I was in special needs classes all the way through high school. And he says, "Young man, you are highly stressed out, and
Mhm.
as a cardiologist, I could give you these pills and they'll regulate your heartbeat, but I suggest you look into it." Long and short, I went home that day and my ex-girlfriend's mom heard about it and she said, "Hey, I know you're dyslexic, um, but I got this book called Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks. I think you should read it." I read the book that day, first couple
Mm.
pages, and it said, "Your thoughts become things and you create your own reality." And I remember dropping the book and being like, "What the actual F am I reading?" If that's
Mhm.
true, nobody I know, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, everybody in my community, no one's ever said that. I have a master's degree in theater. I have a BA in journalism. I've never heard your thoughts become things and you create your own reality. And I went down the rabbit hole. I became a conspiracy theorist. I became an angry vegan. I denounced my religion. I went all in. I was juicing 3 times a day and smoothies, and what was beautiful about it, outside of the angry vegan part and all that stuff, was that I began to wake up to the truth of my being, and I began to understand that what had been created was created from me. I co-created
Mm.
it unconsciously using the laws of the universe that had never been taught to me. And so then I became like, "Oh, well, if I co-created it, then I can co-create something new." And I began to fill my cup. And the more I filled my cup, the more there was overflow. And the overflow started spilling on people. And people started telling other people, "Preston is a whole different being. And if you are having
Mm.
issues or problems, go to him." And that was like the beginnings of my career, if you may. And a lot has
Wow.
happened since then, but that's the beginnings.
Yeah, and it's a powerful story, and, I also am, like, a total nerd in science and everything as well, and it absolutely makes sense, and I would love to, like, tap more because I know you know this stuff too, into, like, educating, our listeners right now on, like, what was happening in your body with all of that stress, right? Like, what is going
Mhm,
on? What's happening in our nervous system? What's happening in our
mhm,
bodies? Like, what does that mean? Can you kinda paint, like, that
yes.
picture of, like, what was going on, from a health standpoint from, like, the things that had happened to you and why this is so important?
Yeah, so, all of us, still have our reptilian brain. We still have that part of us that's an animal, and
Mhm.
in the design of the human being, there is this part of our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is like a fire alarm that goes off anytime we believe that we might be in danger. Well, that was super important when there were saber-tooth tigers and things like that, and we needed to belong and stay inside the cave. However, when it becomes emails and other things and they start to pile on, that sends the body into what we call a stress response. The moment I'm in a stress response, I lose all prefrontal cortex. I lose the front part of my brain, the executive part of my brain that can think and make moves and be creative and be super loving. And all the energy and all of it rushes to my hands, to my thighs, and I go into one of four stances: fight, flight, freeze, or appease, which is a newer one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was occurring for me since 13 years old was that I was doing that sometimes 50 times a day. And so humans are in and out beings. We take water in, water comes out. We take air in, air comes out. We take food in, food comes out. We have a bullying thing happen. We experience neglect from a parent. We have some type of abuse occur, and we tend to, because of the way our culture is set up, we tend to
Mm-hmm.
suppress those things. And anything you run from will chase you. And so what I was doing
Yeah.
is I was repressing and repressing and repressing. When I was 15, my friends asked me to come out and hang with them, and I said no. And within an hour, all of those friends were shot, and my best friend was shot in the head
Oh,
and
wow.
died. And he died. I didn't cry. I didn't cry at all, even at the funeral, because the big boys don't cry thing had already been beat out of me. And so that's more trauma, more stress response in the body. Well, they say in real estate, location, 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 right? You want energetic real estate when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to being our best selves. Well, there was no more space in my energetic real estate because my body, the body, let's call it like is like a bathtub filled with water. And the water is the traumas and the shame and the social and historical programming. This is how a woman should be. This is how a man should be. This is how you should be in a relationship. This is how a good Christian girl is. And all the other stuff is layered in there. Your
Mm-hmm.
mom's trauma, right? Because 3 generations, we know now from science, epigenetics, something can be passed down 3 generations. So it could be
Yep.
your grandmother's stuff that you're processing. Now, all of that's in our bathtub, and that's normal-ish. The difference is that you need to pull the plug, and I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't pulled the plug since 13. I hadn't processed any of that stuff. So my body was basically sending me signals the entire time. Hey, I'm going to break you. Hey, you're not listening. Because we're threefold beings: body, mind, and soul. The soul knows. The soul
Mm-hmm.
knows everything. The soul is done. It's the mind and the body that have to get on board. Most people can dream and talk about and manifest. I want the best relationship. I want the biggest business. I want this. And we say all these things at the top layer, but the subconscious mind and the body have an entire different experience.
Mm-hmm.
So my work in Spiritual Millionaire Academy, and I literally just I just launched this book a couple days ago. It's called Spiritual Millionaire. My work is about teaching people how important the nervous system and the body is as it pertains to actually having the capacity to hold the marriage, the capacity to hold the partnership, the capacity to hold the business, the capacity to hold the money, the capacity to hold all the things you say you want and then some. I was a surf instructor 11 years ago, living at my mom's house. I'm now on this property. There's 3 houses on this property. I own 5 other houses. We're on 4 acres. I got all the toys. I got all the stuff. What I did was I figured out how to use the laws of the universe such that I could be a beneficial presence on the planet. And
Hmm.
all the extra stuff, the toys and the outer stuff, is a byproduct. It's a side effect. I care about them. But the real truth is that I signed up. That day I walked out of that cardiologist's office, I said, hey, God, you get me through this one, I got you forever. And that's where I am now.
Love that. I love that. Well, let's talk about how do we begin to pull that plug? How do we reclaim our power? How do we, work within our nervous system to impact that relationship we have with money, or to have that capacity for that relationship in our life? Like, how do we begin to let some of that go and walk in and have a more healthy nervous system to make room for the abundance in our lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the very first step is a decision that it's possible for you. A lot of people
Mm.
think that they're special. They're special in their messed upness. I used to think it. I'd be like, yo, I'm more messed up than everybody here. And I had to make a decision that success was possible for me, that a
Mhm.
reworking of my identity was possible for me. The second piece is awareness, because awareness proceeds
Mm,
choice. Awareness comes before choice. You cannot disown that which you have never owned. So the
mm,
second step is going, okay, now that I've decided this is possible for me, let me take a microscope to everything that I believe is me and ask myself, did I inherit this or did I choose this
mhm.
consciously? And if I inherited it, now my second question is do I want to keep it? A lot of people's money blueprints, a lot of people's relationship blueprints is not theirs. They inherited it. They watched their
Yeah.
parents fight. They got cheated on by their, boyfriend Brad in high school, and that heartbreak created a wound, and the wound attracted their next partner. And then when the partner came, they put their claws in and said, "Please don't leave me, please don't leave me." And then that became a sabotage. And now they're operating out of this big wound that was never theirs to begin with. So I help people, and you do too. I help people dislodge and move through this stuff so that they have space and capacity. We say it all the time. Our job is to build a somatic body that can hold everything we want and then some.
Mhm.
Most
Yeah,
people
let's
don't have that.
Mhm. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Well, especially in the world that we live in today, right? Because everything is very rushed. There's a lot of
Mhm.
rushed energy. There's not a lot of moments that people are taking to pause. We feel like we have a lot on our plates. Our cups are always full. We're not making room for the awareness, for the capacity to do more in life, I believe. And so I focus a lot on awareness. I want to know, what you did or what you teach your clients on how to build that awareness. Like, is
Mhm.
there something that our listeners can do to start noticing and
Yeah.
becoming more aware of what's going on so that they can make that change, so they can have more?
Yep. So there's quite a few things, but I'll start with make a list of all the people you haven't forgiven. All the
Mm,
things, the institutions, right? I was very upset with the LA Unified School District for putting me in those classes. I was very upset with my mom in particular for not fighting back and saying, "No, my kid's a genius in all these areas. There's different intelligences."
mhm,
And I was very upset with McDonald's for quite a while. I thought that they were targeting black people. And I had to make a list of all the areas where I had my hooks in that was blocking the abundance that was trying to flow through me. Because forgiving does not condone the behavior. It just takes the poison out of my heart, right? And so my job, your job, is to forgive as many people as humanly possible. That's one. Number two, I give my clients this example where imagine somebody is, their ship crashed out at sea, and they're about 2 miles out, but they can see land. They can see the land, but they're in the water, doggy paddling. Doggy paddling is not the time to start dreaming about or creating a new life. Their job 2 miles out is to get back to land. Once we're on
mm,
land, you are regulated. You you can breathe again. You climbed up and got a coconut and ate something and drank the coconut water, right? You once you're back on land, now we create from this space. So what am I saying? I'm saying that one of the best ways to create the awareness and to put yourself closer to what you desire is to reach for things that fill you up. Do things that
mhm,
that make your heart smile. My wife and I had a really rough patch a few years ago, really rough. And at one point, it was so bad that we just called a truce. And we said, you know what? Here's what we're going
mhm,
to do. We're going to just have fun for the next 9 months. We're going to suspend all of the resentments and the things that you should and you shouldn't and all the stuff. And we're going to decide to get back to shore as a couple, as an ecosystem. And once we're on shore, then we're both regulated. We're both happy. We have shared memories. We're back in our sexy, joy, juicy space. Now we can address the stuff that has all the resentment attached to it. Because while we're both out at sea, we will drown each other trying to fight here. Right. And we owe it to
Love
our
that.
kids and we owe it to ourselves to get back to shore.
That is such a good analogy. I have never heard that before. That is so good. Yeah, let's talk about love. Because I've seen you talk a lot about love and amplifying love and what that looks like in everyday life. Why do you believe amplifying love is really the key to unlocking fulfillment in life?
Yes. So here's my truth around abundance. I
Hmm.
believe we are swimming in it. I believe that literally every breath we take is an abundant breath. We don't even think about it. Since we've been on this podcast, there's been no thought about breath or air because we're like, oh yeah, it's just coming. I breathe in, I breathe out. It's here. So my understanding of um, life in general is that whatever created us, whether you call that God or Buddha or Krishna or Jesus or divine intelligence, whatever created us, the quantum field, call it whatever you want, that thing clearly loves us. It rotates the planets. It keeps us just far enough from the sun. Every time I cut my grass out there, the grass grows back. Every time I cut my beard or my hair, it grows back. My kids, their smile, their giggles, when the rainbow happens over our house, it's like there's so much to receive and understand. But oftentimes we're focused on I won't say the wrong things, but our focus is off. So to me, there's nothing more important than how you feel in any given moment. Right? You can have a Ferrari and 12 mansions and feel like you are in prison. You could live in a shoebox and feel like you're in paradise. That's the gift we
Hmm.
have. And the gift is connected to our somatic body and our perspective. And so to me, love across the board this is what we're doing here. It's what we came here to do. It's what we came here to express. It's what we came here to experience. And the best way, in my opinion, to do so is through a healthy, committed relationship. Now, I put healthy in there, but at some level, even dysfunction is healthy, in my opinion. I think it's important that people crash up against each other until they figure out what their flow is. And you can't explain up without giving me a context for down. You can't tell me
Hmm.
about left if I've never experienced right. You can't give me a feeling of in if I've never experienced out. And so the whole thing is love. The whole thing. When my wife and I were going through it, there was a point where I was like, oh, this pain feels so good. What? What a
Hmm.
perspective. And I wasn't just saying that. I meant it. The the anguish and the heartbreak and the pain felt good because I was living. I'm alive. What a gift. What a gift she is to me to mirror all the stuff I did not heal with my mom.
Yeah.
What a gift, right? What a
Yeah.
gift I am to her to mirror and hold the masculine pillar in such a way that she gets to reconfigure her nervous system to be able to play the game called I surrender.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, and I mean, I think our greatest teachers, right? Like as we grow, our number one, our parents from when we were little, they teach us the things that we were embedded with, right? And then second to that is your spouse because those are the person that you are going to count on to need something from the most out of anybody else in your life for and if you're lucky enough, to grow in your marriage, to go through those struggles and choose growth,
mm,
then, you can that person will be the greatest person because it will be a lifetime, by the time whenever you got married to the time you death, that's the person that you're learning to count on, learning to grow from really the
mhm.
most. It's your greatest teacher.
Facts, facts. And
Yeah.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people don't, So there's a misconception that I've noticed as we coach um, people as well. A lot of
Mhm.
people think that when they find their person, all their problems will go away. And
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
actually the opposite, right? It's like the moment
Mhm.
you find your
Mhm.
person, all of the stuff that you've been
Yeah.
hiding in starts to get illuminated. And some people look at that and they go, "Oh, gotta run, find someone else." But if you're fortunate enough, and we've been together 11 years and we have 4 kids and 5 businesses and all the things, you're fortunate enough to keep being reborn with somebody. And I'll go even deeper. We 2 years ago, we got a divorce. Not
Mm.
on paper, but
Mhm.
energetically. We divorced each other.
Mhm.
We decided that
Yeah.
those years were beautiful, but that relationship was dead to us now. I bought a new ring. I reproposed in Australia in Byron Bay. We did the whole thing. And we made a decision and a choice to come back again. And oh my God, how magical it is to rediscover the self and your partner after a ceremony like that. And so to me, relationships, like you said, are some of the greatest workshops you'll ever take.
Yep. Preston, actually, my husband and I did the exact same thing.
Mm,
Like, legit, the same thing. Like,
wow.
got a new ring. I mean, I'm talking like I mean, we went to trauma therapy, we
Yep,
went to, Christian family therapy and had a marriage trauma therapist,
yep.
at one point when we were at that crossroad where I was like, "I don't want this marriage anymore." Like,
Mhm.
I don't. Like, I wanna and we really got to know each other as, like, who we were in the moment, not the box we put them in when we met, right?
Okay.
Like, I think sometimes we meet people and we put them in this box of, "This is what I like about you, and then I want you to stay in this box," right? And as
Right.
soon as we grow and we become a new person and we learn more about ourselves, this person still wants you in this box they put you in.
That
And
part.
so, like, getting rid of the box and figuring out, like, who is this person in front of me again? Because 'Cause we're not meant to stay the same, like, I'm not who I am when I was 14, thank you, Jesus,
Mm.
you know, and we're not supposed to be, so learning to, like, who is this person in front of me? What do they like? What do they not like? What do they like to do for fun? What do they not like to do for fun? Like, what
Mm.
triggers them? Like, what makes them feel calm? I think that it's our greatest teachers.
Facts.
And
That's
and I
amazing.
I love that. So it's so funny you said that. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like same, same,
Huh,
same."
huh.
And so I think that, I love being able to talk about that too because not just from me, but hearing it from you is awesome because, it's like people do this,
Mhm.
this is not a negative. This is a positive in my
Correct.
opinion, like
Correct.
we get to choose that person again and again and learn more and more from them.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Because I know you dive into relationships and parenting and, um, I wanna know also, like, how has your journey as a husband and father influenced your teachings on resilience, on connection with families?
Yes. Well,
It
I
it's a
my
lot, it
kid
seems that way.
I mean, my kids, the role of father has drastically shifted me. The role of parent, the role of husband
Mhm,
has
mhm,
been one of the biggest teachers ever. And even, I drop the kids off and I pick them up most of the time. And our drives are like sacred to me. We
mhm.
sing, we make up stories, we do all kinds of the twins fight sometimes in the back and I'm refereeing and it's there's so much magic in being in this role and um I'm a part of a generation. I was born in 1980, where we were one of the least parented generations in human modern human history. So the streets raised me. Homer
Mhm,
Simpson raised me.
mhm,
Married with
mhm.
Children raised me, and I didn't get to see what a healthy masculine partner looks like. My
Yeah.
dad didn't have a dad, so he did the best he could, but he didn't know how to do it. And so now I'm getting to look at what he did and fill in the gaps and hold my children in such a way that I'm not holding them back. Like,
Mm.
um, there's a whole school of thought that, we are to guide our children. And to me, they come in as who they are. Our job is to see them and to set up enough spaciousness where those gifts can flourish. And so, oh, who do I have to become? Where do I need to go in such a way that I am not attached to the idea of my straight A student or my, like,
Mhm.
I'm an athlete, right? I played
Yeah.
basketball and surfing and all that stuff. My kids could care less about that stuff. We put them in soccer and everything else, and they're doing cartwheels on the side and they don't care at all, right? And so, being able to like continuously cutting the cords of expectations and going, what's here?
Yeah.
Who's here? And then learning from them. Here's my biggest thing. We do this in our
Mm.
workshop, The Bridge, which is a nervous system somatic based workshop that my wife and I do all over the world. And we talk about how our kids and kids in general are some of the best teachers when it comes to how to live and how to not have trauma stuck in your body, because
Mm.
they will, one of them will steal the other one's swing, and they'll run up and she stole my swing, she stole my swing, she stole my swing, mommy, daddy, and it's like this whole
Right?
thing. And then 14 seconds later, they're like, "Hey, do you want to play again?" And they're off to the races. And it's like completely went through the entire cycle without analyzing it and going back to childhood trauma or anything. Just, okay, you stole my swing. I'm very upset. I'm gonna cry now. I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna fall on the ground. I'm gonna get back up, and then I'm gonna play. Well,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, my wife and I, we were fighting about a year and a half ago, and one of the twins came up. We have four, and this is we've only fought in front of them twice. So this is two times in 6 years, and uh, they walked in at the end of our fight, and I said something pretty loud, and one of the twins, Zai, he saw that she was crying, and I went in the other room, and she went that way, and he followed me in the room. He said, "Daddy, you made mommy cry. You need to go apologize to her." And out of ego, I was like, "Mommy made me cry. Tell her to apologize to me," right? And
Yeah.
and then and then I caught myself and I was like, "This dude's my teacher right now. He gets it, right?" Because we asked them, I understand something really important, which is it's not what you say, it's who you're being, right?
Mm.
It's your
Mhm.
the demonstration. My
Yes, thank
biggest
you.
teacher my
Mhm.
kids will ever have is not what I say to them, but how they see me do man, how they see me do husband, how they see me do
Mhm.
career. And so after I
And how that
regulated my
feels.
yes, how I
Mhm.
after I regulated myself enough, I went back in and I made sure he saw me hugging her, holding her, apologizing, because I wanted that to be what the imprints, right? We have implicit memory and explicit memory. When they're 3, 4, they might not have procedural regular memory, but they will have like screenshots in their body around
Mm.
relationship, around the
Mhm.
masculine, around the feminine. And so I'm very aware of that developmentally. And even to the point where like they know every day that we pull up to school, I'll say, "Okay, who am I kissing first?" And they're like, "Kingston, no, you're kissing ZZ first. No, you kiss." And it's this whole game about whose face I'm gonna bite and kiss because the kiss is coming. Right. And it's so good. It's just so good. So good. Yeah.
It's so good. I
Hmm.
love that so much. That's beautiful, and I love the idea, and, we were talking about awareness earlier of, like, what are the screenshots you're creating? Like,
Hmm.
let's all ask ourselves that, like, what screenshots are we creating in our relationship, with money,
Hmm.
with our children, that are then being embedded inside of us, and how can we create new screenshots moving forward that serve us, and really release the negative, release the old, and bring in the new. Kind of like, pulling that plug on the bathtub, and then we can fill that bathtub with the good stuff, right? Like,
Yes.
for to have an abundant life like you've created. And so I want to ask you something deep. And I think I want to ask this because, in this space that we're in, I think it's just an important question to talk about and like just dive deep into. So, you have been recognized a lot. The Millionaire Mentor of the Year, you've been featured on some top podcasts. And so I want to know, how do you keep yourself grounded and true to your values while being in a spotlight?
Mhm.
And does this make it easier to make deeper connections in the spotlight? Or does it make it harder, and why or why not? And I think this is important for to just dive in and I just want to like get
Mm,
real, on this topic. Because
yes.
I see it in this space.
Yep.
So I want to hear it from you. Like, what is it like?
Yeah. Well, see, I have the gift of being in this space before there was ever any of these things, right? Before
Mhm.
there was an
Okay.
Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube. YouTube was barely a thing when I was
Mhm.
doing this. So
Yeah.
my intentions have always been super pure.
Mhm.
As a
Mhm.
child, my mom told this story the other day that to some friends of mine, and I'd never heard it. She said that I got an award in the 6th grade when I was graduating for, like, kindest student award, and all of the Down syndrome and Asperger's kids stood up and clapped so
Mm.
hard, and
Mm.
the teacher came up to her after and said, "Hey, Preston's gotten in trouble a couple times in school, but I want you to know why he got in trouble. There's a bully named Dwayne that bullies some of the, like, smaller, nerdier kids, and Preston always runs over and puts himself in between them." And I remember some of that, but I was so young that but I'm sharing that story because that's actually who I've always been. With or without the money, I've been like this.
Yep.
And some people just actually care about humans, and some people just want to like make a bunch of money and do their own thing. And none of those things are wrong or bad. But I find that the people who have genuine long careers, right?
Mhm.
During the pandemic, a lot of people's stuff went and crashed, right? And some people's stuff took off depending on where the marketplace is. Well,
Mhm.
I've been able to stay around and constantly grow since, let's call it, 2010, 2009. I got in the space in 2005. I didn't make a
Mhm.
single dollar. I didn't make a single dollar until 2013. So I started in
Mm.
2005. I didn't make zero money until 2013. That whole time, I was just serving and giving. And so
Yeah.
I totally hear what you're saying. And for me, um, my relationship with stuff, I never
Mhm.
make any of it my God. And to
Okay.
me, there's only one God.
Mhm.
And I use the stuff and I serve God, not the other way around. And what I've come to understand is that community is the new money. It's the biggest currency you have, and you can't fake community. You either are
Mhm.
the type of person who's really good and honest. Even these things, like you can watch 30 podcasts of mine, and some things will overlap, but for the most part, it's new stories, it's new stuff. It depends on who the person
Mhm.
is. You're really open and have a beautiful energy, and so I'm sharing stuff that I don't usually share on all the podcasts. Right? I'm
Mhm.
just being with what is, and
Yeah.
I'll finish the answer by saying I feel extremely grateful that the internet exists, because for someone like me, if this didn't exist, I'd probably be working at a tire shop or doing something not like this. But because of the timing and what's handwritten on my soul, I get to live an extremely abundant life, externally and internally, and all of it is based on the internal. I
Mhm.
genuinely feel extraordinarily grateful every single day. And that baseline of just going, "Thank you, God. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
missing this. I see those butterflies. I receive this air. Thank you for that sun. I appreciate that I can go get water. I'm not missing that my bills have been paid since I've been on this planet. I'm not missing that I've never missed a meal. I'm not missing any of that. Thank you, God. I see you. I appreciate you, and use me today." Right? That type of energy and
Yeah.
like actually meaning it, it's everything else is extra from that point forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for you too, what I read from you is and your energy is like there's a level of openness because you know how to self-regulate because you've emptied the bathtub, and let your nervous system free and being able to regulate that. It creates like an openness instead of a closed offness to connection, to community, to love, right? To love freely without being fear of loss or protection. And therefore, the answer for you is easy. It's it is abundance, it is love, it flows to you. I think for that reason is what I feel from you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, for those listening who may just feel kind of stuck in their lives or unable to really break free from their limitations, from what's going on in their bodies right now, what is the first step that you would recommend they take towards just freedom and abundance?
It, this is an easy one for me, because I understand the science of it. Um,
Hmm.
the wounds and the things that people are currently addressing and being with did not happen in isolation. They happened with other humans, right? We are born from a womb into the arms of humans. And one of the best ways to heal those wounds is with other humans. We co-regulate each other. Our nervous systems intertwine. And so a lot of people on the self-development journey, they try to do it by themselves, right? We
Hmm.
heard it. You and your husband, you went and got help. So did we.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have men's work masterminds that I'm in. I've been in the same one for 4 years. I have coaches. I have therapists. We met with our therapist yesterday. We were crying in this seat yesterday. I don't try to
Hmm.
do it by myself. All of my really abundant, rich friends ask for help all the time. All my
Yeah.
really like poor and struggling friends try to do it by themselves. And so the number one thing I would say is get into a community where you don't have to know it all, where you can hack and receive someone else's codes by way of where they've gone. And then that
Hmm.
gets you a little closer to shore. And then once you are on the land, you are regulated and you are in your body and you are feeling good enough, then you keep going. And one of the ways to do this, whether you pay for it or not, is to find a safe person and let them hold some of your stuff. Hear me
Hmm.
loud and clear for
So good.
anybody who's struggling with something, because I've held secrets for years, years, and those secrets ate me alive. This is why I
Yep.
love the title of this, um,
Hmm.
because what imprisons you also points to your freedom. The very
Yep.
thing that you're hiding is the door to your freedom. So
Yep.
find a safe person. It could be a neighbor, a cousin, a brother, an old high school roommate, friend, whatever. Find them and say, "Hey, here's what I'm being with." There's
Hmm.
something that happens when we just let go of some of it, and we create spaciousness. That's what I would say.
Amen to that. So good. Well, Preston, I want everybody to go get your new book too, because we are just opening doors here. And tell us about where we can find the book. Spiritual Millionaire, everybody, go get it. Where can we go get it? And how can everyone listening connect with you further from here?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's at Preston Smiles on Instagram, YouTube, or where you get podcasts, and prestonsmiles.com/book. It's really good, if I say so myself. And it's
Yeah.
the 7 inner laws of abundance and money. And
Mm,
there's a lot in there. The rules and the principles and the things I'm speaking to is not it's not luck, it's law. It's not personal, it's principle. And a lot of times
mhm,
people don't get that. They think they're special. You're not special, right? If I take my phone right now and I drop it, the law of gravity says it's going down no matter what, no matter how good I am. If I go and plug up to electricity, I put a knife in a socket, it's going to fry me if I don't have the right infrastructure. What's going on in this book is me teaching you what these laws are so you can use them for the betterment of you and your entire family and community.
Awesome. I am so excited to get my hands on that. Well, seriously, huge thank you for joining us today. I have just enjoyed so much chatting with you, honestly, and then just like listening to all your powerful insights on abundance, on healing, and really living with purpose. So, just thank you so much from my heart to yours for thank you for coming on the show.
For sure. Thank you for having me, and a shout out to everybody who made it this far. Like you,
Hmm.
it's easy to put Jillian and myself on a pedestal, but birds of a feather flock together. And so, if you have ears to hear and a heart to receive this, that means there's something in it for you. Truly, like you are
Mm,
like us. And so now, what you get to do is take a action step immediately, so that you cement it and screenshot it into your consciousness, so that your higher self knows that you mean business, right? We know in the Bible, faith without works is dead. So we bow our
yeah.
head and we move our feet. That's what we do.
So beautiful.
Mm,
Well, everybody, if you found value in today's conversation, which I know you all did, be sure you check out Preston's work. Go get his book, Spiritual Millionaire, and connect with him online for even more inspiration. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, keep living authentically and keep creating deeper connections in your own life. Hey there, it's Jillian from Life Without Secrets. Ever feel like you and your partner aren't quite on the same page? Well, you're not alone, and that's exactly why I created our latest issue of Truthful magazine. It's packed with insights and stories about bridging that gap and finding a deeper connection. We're diving into real conversations about needs, feelings, and how honest dialogue can rekindle that closeness that you've been missing. Why not explore this together? Go grab your free copy right now at lifewithoutsecrets.com and turn those pages into shared moments. Can't wait for you to dive in and share your thoughts with me.